Good morning. I'm Stephanie Ward, she, her, and I'm a member of your board of directors here. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a community of youth, adults, and children of many diverse theologies, held together by covenant, not creed. Together we share the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. May you know deep welcome and belonging in this space. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box if you're online, before the opening hymn, or add it to the meditation bowl over by the Soulwork Center. There you can find opportunities for people of all ages to engage with today's service. Welcome to any visitors. We're so glad you're here. If you're visiting with children, we do offer spiritual growth opportunities for children and youth at the 11 a.m. service, and at both we offer nursery care. As always, your children are welcome to stay with you during the service because we welcome the noises and movements that they bring. Let's take a moment to wave to those online. Welcome, Zoomers. Once per year during March, we ask all of our members and our friends to think about what they can give financially to sustain our church during the next fiscal year. And we ask them to pledge that amount. That way, our board can create a budget to fit our anticipated contributions of our members and friends. This year, we need each other more than ever. This morning, we have a few videos to share, and I'm supposed to move so you can watch them.
Hi, I'm Courtney Wells, and I am a fairly new member. We joined about a year ago and have just been so happy with everything here at church, really. I've been looking for a home for a long time, a spiritual home, and have never really felt comfortable anywhere else. And I really feel that immediately when I walk into the building. I love the building, the music, the programs available for our children, and we have become inspired to pledge and to give money to the church, which I've never felt inspired to do anywhere else. So we are very grateful for the space, the people, the warmth, the energy that's here, and we're looking forward to continuing to get even more involved.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Knoche. Pronouns are she and her. I love the community here at White Bear, and just the people are so fantastic. And I especially enjoy the choir because the people are so wonderful again, and I really enjoy the choir director. He's very, very good and also keeps us incredibly entertained, so that's why I love it.
And my name is David Wells, and I use he, him pronouns. Like Courtney said, we've been coming for about a year, and I didn't really know exactly what I was looking for when we came. But I didn't know, maybe it was connection, maybe it was inspiration, but I was immediately hit with a sense of warmth when we entered the building and the community. And so since then, I have found more of that sense of connection and inspiration. But I've also, I think in hindsight, at its core, have found more presence. And I think that's really what I've needed. Whether it's 1 hour a week that we come or any time that we're interacting with the members here, it's helping show me how to be more present. And it's, I think, with regards to pledging, this is teaching me that I have to, and maybe we have to invest in that presence. We have to practice the presence. And so the values here have helped inspire me and feel compelled to give time, energy, and money. So thank you.
Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
My life goes on in endless song, I'm Jack Gady. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm your associate minister. Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place.
My name is Heather Olsen-Tro, and my pronouns are she, her. In the past, I've been much more willing to form an opinion about anything and express it. Usually these opinions are innocuous, what movies I like the best children's music. It's the Wiggles, by the way. I've been more obnoxious about expressing my religious beliefs, especially in college when I saw that all the smartest people I knew were atheists. I became vocal about my atheism. I am embarrassed to say I felt superior and smug about it. It was a phase of my life, and I'm grateful that it's over. Now I've reached a point where I'm much more eager to listen There are incredible spiritual ideas and religious traditions from so many cultures. I feel content to sit in a place of not knowing what I think, not needing to vocalize it, and instead to absorb and consider many possibilities. I love the idea that there is room for everyone, every belief system, every beautiful spiritual tradition that has so much meaning for the people who experience it. I enjoy and feel content in my uncertainty and find a great deal of beauty in watching and listening to the experiences of others. I hope I can continue to listen because I've been the most transformed in moments when I don't speak, but instead extend my heart and try to share it with someone else. I find it more challenging and rewarding to have an open mind, to give thought and care to the ideas of others and not value my own opinion and ideas too much. I have overvalued my own thoughts and ideas for way too long and undervalued the incredible potential for growth that exists in the simple act of listening. I know I need to do a lot more listening. Let's light the chalice for sharing and engaging, listening and speaking, and our amazing power to transform each other just by being in community together.
Please join me for the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please rise and body your spirit for our opening hymn, number 288 in the gray hardcover hymnal, All Are Architects.
Good morning. My name is Amy. My pronouns are she, her. I'm your Director of Religious Education, and I'd like to invite those young and young at heart forward for our story this morning. You come join me right up front. Safe. So we have a special tradition here at WBUUC, a tradition where we invite members to share their own stories. We ask them to open a window into their lives and into their journeys, and we invite different people to speak with us a couple times each year. We call this tradition This I Believe. So in honor of this tradition, we have another tradition where we share the same story for this I Believe services, and to get us thinking about our own stories and our own journeys and our own beliefs and sharing why they are important. And so what I brought with me this morning is a box. But this is not an ordinary box. I keep lots of very special things in this box. In fact, if you can believe it, everything I believe is in this box. What do you think about that? Is that possible to fit it all in one box? No, you can't fit Santa in there. So every single one of us has a box just like this box, whether you know it or not. And they are full of all of the things that we've come to believe throughout our lives. So things like what we believe about God, or about nature and animals and the stars, maybe about how life came into being, our beliefs about what is right and what is wrong, the beliefs we have about ourselves and other people, and our beliefs about what we think is most important in life. All of these things are in our box, and we get these beliefs from our parents and our playmates and from our own lived experiences. We even get them sometimes, for better or worse, from the TV and from the internet. We also get them from church. And all of these beliefs go right into our belief boxes. Can you imagine your own box right in front of you now and what might be in it? So, for example, in my box, I have our Unitarian Universalist values centered around love. And this is a reminder that we all should work towards right relationship in all that we do. I also have a chalice to remind me of my church home and our call to justice. I have a little bag with 5 smooth stones to keep me anchored when times are tough. I have a little rock that was painted for me by a dear friend to remind me of the love that surrounds me in my life and how important it is to tend to those relationships. I have a pine cone and an acorn to remind me to be present to nature and to remember that we're all growing every moment of our lives. And all of these things are in my belief box. And in Unitarian Universalist congregations, we recognize that my belief box is going to be different from your belief box, is going to be different from all of our individual belief boxes. And we also know as Unitarian Universalists, it's not just what's in our box that matters, but it's how we hold our boxes that matter too. So for instance, as Unitarian Universalists, we hold it much more carefully than that. And with the top open, so that new ideas and experiences can get inside. Having the top off our box can be a little scary, especially when we're feeling a little unsure of ourselves, right? Learning new things that challenge old beliefs can be hard and uncomfortable and maybe make us question ourselves a little bit, but it's important work. When our boxes are wide open, it means we can let in stories and wisdom from people who have experiences that are different from our own. We also carry our boxes in front of us so that we can see them carefully. We know our beliefs are important, and we want to make sure that the things that go into our belief boxes don't hurt ourselves or other people. So we hold them where we can see them. We also, as I said, hold our boxes carefully, like we hold all things that matter to us. Our beliefs are really, really important, because whether we're aware of it or not, they show up each and every day in our lives. So we hold them carefully and reverently, knowing that what's important is inside. But the most important thing is that we hold our boxes together. Holding new ideas and challenging old ideas is really heavy work. And we really need each other to do this, to help us ask questions and to learn together. And so this is what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Our beliefs in our belief boxes matter. We're adding beliefs our entire lives. Our jobs are to be learners. And our beliefs matter, and so does how we hold them. And it matters that we hold them together. Do you think we can do this work together? Yes? Yes. So we're going to go make our own belief boxes in our circles together, and they're all going to hear stories from each other and think about your belief boxes. Sound good? All right, we're going to sing Our Children on Their Way. The hymn is Go Lifted Up. Please rise in body or spirit.
Will you join me for a moment of meditation or prayer? Gathered as we are together, about 140 people in this room and 31 households on Zoom. Just take some deep breaths and just settle into where we are. The invitation today is to know ourselves as a forest of trees. So imagine your roots connecting you to the earth, connecting you to sustenance, our roots touching the roots of other trees, helping us stay connected, the way we can pass nutrients one to another, our strong torsos and trunks lifting us to the sky with our branches forming one canopy. We are many species of trees, yet we are still one forest. Our thriving depends on the thriving of each other. We honor this connection and this interdependence this morning. We need each other, and we're grateful to have one another for support and comfort and love. This morning, we are holding many people in love and care. We especially think of the many families whose lives have been touched by loss and death this past month. This community has lost 5 of its members this past month, and RAC will ring the bowl between each person. John Paquette passed away in mid-February. Prayers this morning for his wife, Barb Flo, their daughter, Elisa Ludwig, and the whole family. Mary Stilson passed away in late February. Prayers for her granddaughter, Hannah O'Connor, and for Mary's whole family. Her memorial will be held in the social hall right here this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Mary Hauser passed away in early March. Prayers for her daughter, Susan Milkey, and her whole family. Mary's memorial is being planned for late April. Ray Kolodziejski passed away last Saturday. Prayers for his wife, June, their daughter, Ellie, and the whole family. Ray's memorial is being planned for late April. Ellen Schmidt passed away last Saturday. Prayers for her husband, John, and their whole family. Ellen's memorial will be taking place in Racine, Wisconsin on the night of Friday, March 28th. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember them. We also send prayers of continued healing to John Weiss and his wife Sue Dahlman as John continues to recover from his treatment down at Mayo these past few weeks. Gratitude for our church community and the warm welcome that we receive every Sunday and Wednesday. Prayers for peace and grace during uncertainty within our family. Wishing a successful surgery and recovery for Greg, who is getting a knee replaced this week. Thoughts of healing are welcome. Wishing continued happy travels for my kids and co-parent who are in Vietnam, also looking forward to their safe return next Saturday. The family of Shirley Wild is grateful for the healing energy that's been directed her way as she continues to recover from COVID and other health challenges. And this morning we hold Janelle's parents in our hearts as her mother is transitioning to memory care. After 70 years of being together, this is a sorrowful time. And we take a moment to name out loud the things on our hearts, the people on our hearts and in our minds. We are more able to do this work together, connected at the roots, than we can alone. May it be so, and amen. Please remain seated, for I know this rose will open. Number 396.
In community news announcements, registration is still open for our Raising Racial Consciousness workshops. The first one will happen this Thursday, March 20th. It is from 5 to 8 p.m. and dinner will be provided. Please sign up as soon as possible so that we can plan accordingly. This Wednesday, all are welcome at our community meal at 5:30, followed by choir practice, art and soul work, the Millennialish group, and a youth movie night. We're watching Wicked. It doesn't have to be for youth too, like grown-ups can go also. Please mark your calendars for April 5th. Our sabbatical minister, Shay McKay, will be leading a retreat that day, celebrating spring as a time of awakening and growth. Stay tuned to this week's e-news for more details. And now we get to hear some reflections from Julie Wild, a member of the Stewardship Committee.
Good morning. As she said, I'm Julie Wild, pronouns she, her. When people ask me why I'm so attached to this church, I usually say, first and foremost, you guys, the people here. Let me go back 25 years. I moved to Minnesota knowing 2 people in the state. I'd never even visited before. I was a struggling single mom. I was raised UU in Niagara Falls, New York, but hadn't attended regularly anywhere for most of my adult life. I tried Unity that first summer, but I just never felt a connection there. After 9/11, I was really feeling the need for community, So I got in the phone book, and, and I found WBUUC. When I called, my first questions were, how do you say the name of that town? And how do I get there? From the first service I attended, I felt so at home here. Those opening words, oh my God, made me take a deep breath and say to myself, yes, this is the place for me. Within a couple of years, I joined the church and the choir. Oh, how I love to sing with the choir. And I got to know more and more folks. Some of my very best friends I've met through this place. In fact, I really can't imagine what my life would look like if I hadn't found WBUUC. So yeah, you guys keep me here, and of course, all the amazing things we do in the world. Especially now, it feels so good to be part of a community that cares about people, that wants to alleviate suffering, that doesn't give in to fear, but proudly stands up for their beliefs, that keeps an open mind and wants to learn more about those who are different from us. 'Cause, yeah, pretty homogenous around here. Now, pledging. Why do I pledge? Well, I'll be honest, I didn't in those early years. Money was always tight. When I did start to pledge, it was never as much as I wanted to give. Still isn't, frankly. But here's the truth. No matter what we're able to give, it's valuable in keeping this place going. I pledge because I can't imagine my life without you all in it, or without the incredible opportunities this place affords for growing my soul and helping the world. Thank you.
The money from today's collection will support the mission of our congregation to grow our souls and serve the world in love. There are a couple ways you can give. You can place cash or a check in the offertory baskets that'll be passed around. You can give on our website, or you can use the text to give feature. The number will be on the screen momentarily. However you give, thank you for your generosity in this life that we live together. The offering will now be gratefully collected.
Our first This I Believe speaker this morning is Cheryl Riley. She and her husband, Jim Cooper, are wanderers. Having lived in several places, they migrated to Minnesota and then Wisconsin in 2007. Looking for a community, they found White Bear UUC and joined 15 years ago this month. For several years, she co-chaired the development committee and the annual service auction. Thank you for that service. Cheryl retired almost 8 years ago from a career in wildlife conservation and a mission to connect young people to the outdoors. In retirement, she and Jim are enjoying traveling in their camper and continuing a lifelong quest of learning. Please help me welcome Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And to those of you listening at home, who, what, when, where, why? These are the questions that are drilled into a journalist when trying to report a story. At least that's what I was taught in journalism school more than 50 years ago. Good questions? But behind those or any questions must be a curiosity, a desire to know and understand your subject. Did you know that a 4-year-old is reported to ask 300 to 400 questions a day? And if you have a 4-year-old or a grandchild, you probably know that that's true. This inquisitiveness is important to their understanding of the world. I was that kind of inquisitive kid. My parents divorced when I was 4, and I spent weekends with my father. We had a family pew at the First Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, in Mattoon, Illinois, a community of about 20,000 people in the middle of cornfields. My father made sure that we went to church every Sunday, and I must have been full of questions, maybe even demanding some answers, because from what I've been told, one of my Sunday school teachers saw a need to call my dad after one Sunday. The next Sunday, I marched up to her, hands on hips, with all the authority of a 6-year-old, and I said, "My daddy told me to tell you I'm sorry." And she knew that was the best she was going to get. I've also been told that another teacher quit teaching when she became pregnant because she didn't want to face all my questions. But this strategy and a very strong streak of stubbornness were survival skills for me getting through a tough childhood. Church for me was mostly social. It's where I learned leadership skills being involved in the youth group. And it's where I found my first role models. All my life, I have sought out role models and mentors. And I've been fortunate to have many who have given me excellent guidance. Let's fast forward to college, where I went to the University of Missouri to study journalism. Journalism students were encouraged to take a broad range of subjects, and the university had a school of religion. So I took some religious and philosophy classes. It was in one of those classes that I was introduced to the writings of a philosopher that gave me the foundation for my beliefs that I still hold today. Reverend Jack has spoken about Martin Buber. Buber was a theistic, existential Jewish philosopher who wrote a book in 1923 called I, Thou. That's the English translation of his German writing. There's a lot of depth to Buber's writings, but I'm only going to share what spoke to me and has stayed with me through the years. Buber believed that people had two approaches to seeing life in the world, I, it, or I, thou. The I-it is an approach that's most common. It's utilitarian, and it's what we do to get what we need from someone or something. We treat our subjects mostly as objects. We use a person or nature for our own needs. We do it every day, most of the time without thinking. The other approach is an I-thou. This is much more complex. It's when we enter into a relationship with all of our vulnerabilities and truly attempt to see another person. We are in their presence for only that person, for only that purpose, without preconceptions and not to judge or analyze. Let me give you an example that might help with an experience that perhaps you have had. Have you ever been at a concert when the music completely envelops you and you're so immersed in it that you lose a sense of where you are in time passing? I had the experience with that last song the choir sang. This would be an I-thou experience. With a person, it might be a moment when you truly connect and understand and see that person you are with, and you appreciate, even love them for who they are. And using our March theme, you trust. To Buber, God was the eternal thou. And we come to know God through our I-thou experiences. To my 20-year-old self, this answered so many questions of what I couldn't see, hear, or feel about God. If I were to know God, it would be through my relationships with people, nature, and the world. That just made sense to me. When I was 25, I had another experience that profoundly affected how I view the world and what I believe. I spent 9 months with a backpack, traveling around the world, visiting 25 countries. I learned about Buddhism in Thailand, Hinduism in India, Islam in the Middle East, and Judaism in Israel. I also came to appreciate more fully the freedoms that I had in this country. But I also learned that our country does not have all the answers, and we can learn so much from other countries and cultures. I was exposed to different people, food, history, cultures, and ideas. It instilled a love of travel that is still a priority in my life. And it taught me to fully believe in Mark Twain's quote, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts." So, does God exist? I don't know. I wish sometimes I did. I also sometimes wish I had the strong and quiet faith of my mother, who kept a Bible beside her bed. But I don't. My analytical mind and all my questions don't give me an easy answer. I do believe there are many good teachings of Jesus in the Bible, but I can learn from them without believing that he's the Son of God. And I ask, would it really make any difference in how I act or who I am if I did believe? I don't think so. I'd like to believe that there's a creator God for all this incredible universe. Still, I'm not sure. Okay, so what about an intervener God? Well, it's hard for me to believe that some superpower intervenes to help the Vikings win the Super Bowl, or the Packers, since I'm from Wisconsin, or prevents someone I love from suffering, or helps me win the lottery. In my case, God would have to buy the ticket too. Why, if we are created with a conscience, a brain, a soul, would we not use those gifts rather than turn our life over to an unseen deity. In times of darkness, despair, and distress, kind of where we are right now, we often call upon our faith to help sustain us. How does what we believe help us? You may be familiar with the writer Barry Lopez. In an essay entitled Love in a Time of Terror, he addresses our current time of darkness and despair. He writes, if we are to manage the havoc, he names several things, you can put in your own concerns, we have to reimagine what it means to live lives that matter, or we will only continue to push on with the unwarranted hope that things will work out. We need to step into a deeper conversation about enchantment and agape, and to actively explore a greater capacity to love other human beings. In Martin Buber's word, we need to form more I-thou relationships. After pursuing, and hopefully pursuing those relationships can give our lives purpose, whether it's with family, friends, strangers you meet, actions you take, prayers you pray, or meditations you immerse yourself in. Let your faith, whatever it is, hold you strong. I'd like to conclude with one of my favorite plays, also made into a movie, Les Miserables, based on the book of the same name written in 1862 by Victor Hugo. If you haven't seen, I highly recommend or at least listen to the music. The closing number has a line I want to close with. It's my interpretation of Martin Buber's I-thou and the foundation of my faith. And remember the truth that once was spoken. To love another person is to see the face of God. Thank you.
Freedom begins in your heart. Freedom
Thank you, choir. Our second This I Believe speaker is Dr. Bjorn Peterson. Bjorn is an artist and scholar practitioner of transformational leadership with over 20 years of experience leading community development and social transformation. He is known for his ability to create welcoming environments, hold courageous spaces, and accompany difficult work. He earned an MA in transformational leadership at Seattle University and holds a PhD in community development from Arizona State. Alongside his wife, Elisa, Bjorn is the incoming executive director of the remote wilderness retreat center and intentional community called Holden Village, located in the north central Cascade Mountains of Washington State. He and Elisa have 2 kids, Magnus and Annika. We saw Magnus earlier on the screen, with whom they can be found in the woods or reading books. Will you please help me welcome Bjorn?
As I begin, I feel like I should acknowledge that I have the opportunity sometimes to do chalice lighting readings, which always feel a bit like an interpretation of how I think into how I imagine others think. This is less so. So I thank you for your hospitality to my more native language. When I consider what I might claim as a belief, I ask myself on the most basic level, what is it that I believe to be experiencing? What do I understand to be going on around me? How can I arrive at the statement of this I believe? So much of my experience in life has felt as though the world was turned up to a volume far beyond comfort. I am among the many people who have wondered whether life was worth living. And when the onslaught of life's stimulations threaten to drown me, I can become quickly overwhelmed. Then I remember the words Annie Dillard used to open her meditations on what she called the writing life. She wrote, "You were made and set here to give voice to this, your own astonishment." I believe this, so I'll start there. Whatever I believe is rooted in my experience of the world. I encounter and interpret billions of pieces of information, both consciously and non-consciously, and my experience is utterly inseverable from every human member of the species and all the rest of the more than human world. I watch the innumerable expressions of life around me coming and going like algae blooms. They move through their fleeting seasons, emerging, presenting, declining, disappearing, reintegrating. I come up against the inevitability of change and the limits of our agency. I feel the power of deeply felt truths pushing and pulling at me like an ocean, while life's insistence is suspended through the watery matrix. Often, when I am with groups of people, I glimpse the budding and blooming of life's expressions. Life makes itself known, encounters the contradictions of life together, and then dies as quickly as it came. It is as though I am watching a time-lapse film of a field of wildflowers. I know that it is among them that I belong. The idea of stating my beliefs feels a bit foolish in this experience of life. I sometimes fear that my own contradictions will expose a lack of cohesion in my personhood. It's funny that my finite mind should be embarrassed by one of its most defining characteristics. But as many people have noted, we seek cohesive stories that will make sense of the swirling contradictions of life. I find great grounding in Walt Whitman's response to all of this. He writes, "Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes." I believe that too. I am large, I contain multitudes. When Whitman wrote that he contains multitudes, I think he was also directing our attention to the stunning reality that our neighbors too contain multitudes. I imagine thousands, perhaps millions of threads reaching out from me in every direction as I stand here. Each of my multitudes connected to those of all of you, stretching as far as life can reach. I see the same for each of you. Zoom out from this, and the fine grains of connection melt into a liquid, a cloud, a great teeming sea of interconnection, the bubble and splat of life. I see again the primordial soup from which our species is forever a kind of algae bloom working to become. We are working to become what time and space suggest may give us better life. Then I remember the words of Annie Dillard again. You were made and set here to give voice to this, your own astonishment. I believe this, so I'll continue. I confess that I find it absolutely astonishing that through all of our complexity, traveling as multitudes of multitudes, that we are still able to somehow understand one another, even a little. It is miraculous to me that we can make some sense of all these threads, this murky stew. I am moved by our ability to improve our experiences by cooperating across the persuasive illusion of independence. I am thrown to the ground in humility before the improbability of my consciousness in such a vast and demanding universe. I come to that consciousness among life's efforts to respond to the suggestions of time and space. And what do I hear? What are time and space suggesting may lead to better life? Time tells me to give attention, to notice, to watch. Time tells me that all things change, that there is no controlling or predicting the exact outcomes of any series of actions, that the experience of time itself is uneven and untamable. I see that we can learn to live with greater contentment, and that to do so expands our agency within the time we're granted. Space, this here between us and far beyond, shows me the abundance we have in a world that often feels defined by scarcity. If time is telling me to pay attention, to give attention, space is telling me to fill out into the full shape that I am becoming, that we are becoming. Space, both near and far, testifies to the abundance of the universe. When I feel that this incredibly, indescribably vast universe somehow strains at the size of my needs, my mind and body take refuge in the spaciousness implied by the multitudes we each contain. There's room enough for all, and in the cosmic muck of life together, we share the possibility of great joy when we embrace our ultimate entanglement. I hear Robin Wall Kimmerer's simple and profound summary, all flourishing is mutual. As I make sense of the great stir of experience, the flows of meaning-making that pass through my boundaries, shaping my story-seeking, I feel myself arriving. I arrive somewhere like that state in which so many artists do, a hunger to make known that which astonishes me while feasting on that which astonishes you. So what do I believe? I start with what is within me and around me. I believe in the land, the water, the spaciousness, and how they move me. I believe I am made and set here to give voice to this, my own astonishment. And I believe the same of you. I believe we contain multitudes. I believe that all flourishing is mutual. I believe that anything that tempts me to conclude that I can go on without you is a danger to my long-term well-being. We belong to the multitudes. When we give voice to our astonishment, when we understand that nothing can sever our futures, when we are humble before our multitudinal experiences, mutual flourishing becomes possible. And that, for me, is worth staying alive for. This I believe.
Thanks. Please rise and body your spirit. Our closing hymn is the Fire of Commitment, number 1028 in our teal hymnal. Before we speak our closing words, I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment and imagine you are part of the forest. Our roots are connecting us. Our branches are swaying in the breeze and maybe even knocking into each other's branches. Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us. Please join us for Social Hall, and if you're a veteran member here, will you look around and see if someone needs an invitation to join you? Go in peace.